Let's continue on with our Ken and Amy Booth problem. And here we were working on the Schedule C. And so we had put in Amy's name and social security number, what this does, which is a retail store that sells books. We found the code from the back of the Schedule C instructions. We said the business name and address, and we also need to put in the employer ID number. And we're told that that's 27 149 85 67. Okay, I'm going to double check that. 27 149 85 67. Okay, good. Okay, then we also had put in that her accounting method is cash, the cash basis of accounting, and that she does materially participate, meaning she's the one that's sweating and doing the work. She didn't just buy the business, but somebody else does all the work. Okay, so we said yes, she materially participates. She started the business prior to 2020. Because we know that because she has a net operating loss that comes forward from the previous year. So we know she was in business at least 1 year before 2020. So we leave that one blank. Did you make any payments in 2020 that would require you to file Form 1099? These are payments that if she paid any individual over $600 that wasn't an employee. So if she paid employees, even at $1, she has to give them a W-2 form in January. But if she paid an individual, like to repair something or to do landscaping work outside the store, anything like that, that would require her to give that person a 1099 form in January. So we take a look at her various expenses, and there's nothing like repair expenses or things that might lend itself to being a 1099 type of expense, so we're going to say no. If there were, then we would have to say yes, and then we would have to say yes, we are going to give that person a 1099, or that we already did. Okay, so now we go down to part 1, which is the income section. We have gross receipts or sales. And then you're supposed to check the box if this was reported to you on Form W-2 and statutory employee box. That can happen in certain kinds of businesses, but that wouldn't be a retail business. So she's not gonna check that box. But gross receipts and sales, we see the sales of books is 320, 115. So that's gonna go here. Okay, line 2 is any returns and allowances, and she doesn't have any of that. So we go on to line 3. It says subtract line 2 from line 1. So this would be her net sales. Line 4 is the cost of goods sold, and it says it's from line 42. So we're going to go on to the second page, and this is where we put our cost of goods sold formula. Those of you who've had Accounting 101, you're supposed to have that formula memorized. It's beginning inventory plus purchases minus the ending inventory is the cost of goods sold. Okay, so line 33, it says method to value the closing inventory. So typically for most retail places, that'll be the cost. That's where we use either FIFO or LIFO or average cost system to calculate out what the cost was of the inventory that was left over and the inventory that was sold. And we learned about that in Accounting 101 as well. Those of you who have had Accounting 102, we've also talked about it there. Okay, if you haven't had those classes, then I would suggest going through in Chapter 3 in your book goes through those things, and you should refresh yourself on those things. Okay? The lower of cost or market happens when we might have products that become obsolete or something, expired, and become worthless or things. So a grocery store has maybe dairy products that might expire and become lower than the cost. So rather than waiting until the item got sold because it's now expired, milk can't be sold. We have to throw it away. So in that case, a grocery store might use this lower of cost or market. The market is what that thing is worth. So if it's expired milk, it's worth 0. And that allows us then to at least take a deduction for that expired milk that we have to throw away rather than sell. Okay, and there are some modified systems. If you use a modified system, you can check the other. That's not going to happen in Accounting 124. Okay, line 34. Was there any change in determining the quantities, costs, or valuations between opening and closing inventory? What that means is, did you use FIFO for the beginning inventory, and then by the ending inventory you decided, oh, I guess I'll use LIFO now? Okay, if that changed, then you would have to say yes. And believe me, you will get a letter from the IRS because you're not allowed to do that. You have to ask permission to change your system. The management can decide what cost flow assumption they want to use, FIFO, LIFO, average cost, or some other system. But once they've made that choice, they're stuck with it. You have to ask permission from the IRS and be given permission before you can change it. So you're, it says, if yes, attach an explanation. Okay, and you're probably going to get a letter about it from the IRS. So your answer better be no. If you started out with FIFO, you better do the end of the year with FIFO. All right, line 34, inventory at the beginning of the year. If it's different from last year's closing inventory, you better attach a good explanation because that's also going to be a problem. Okay, so the inventory we see here on January 1st was $250,000. Okay, line 36, purchases less cost of items withdrawn from personal use. So we see that her purchases was $166,000. There's nothing about her taking out some of these books for her own personal use, so we assume that that was already deducted from that. So $166,000. 37 cost of labor, and 38 materials and supplies, 39 other costs. These are all costs that typically would be there if this was a manufacturing type of thing. If she actually was like a publisher that made the books and had to have direct labor and things like that that we learn about in Accounting 102, that would go there. But this is just strictly a retail place, so she buys the books already made and just resells them to final customers. So we typically aren't going to have anything in 37, 38. Sometimes in 39 other costs, if she pays to ship the books to customers, that would be freight cost, or other types of freight costs might be included in there, shipping costs that the store had to pay for. Line 40, add lines 35 through 39. So that's our cost of goods available. So we're going to take the $250,000 and the $166,000, and that's $416,000 is our cost of goods available. Then our inventory at the end of the year, and December 31st inventory is $231,545. We go to line 42. The cost of goods sold is our cost of goods available, $416, minus our ending inventory. So $416,000 minus $231,545, and that's $184,455. Okay, that's our cost of goods sold. So now we're going to go back up to line 4 and put that there, $184,455. Line 5, our gross profit. We know from Accounting 101 that our sales, net sales minus cost of goods sold is gross profit. So we're going to take the 320,115 net sales minus the 184,455 cost of goods sold, and we get 135,660. Line 6 is any other types of income, odd types of income. She doesn't have that. So 135,660. So now we're done with the income part. Now we can go on to the expense part. Okay, so we have the store rent is $16,000. Okay, so under line 20 is rent. There's line 20A for renting vehicles or equipment, and line 20B for renting other things besides vehicles and equipment, which would be the building itself. So that would be where the $16,000 building rent would go. Okay, the office expense is $61.50. So office expense is line 18, $61.50. The advertising is $11,800. So that goes on line 8, $11,800. The city business license is $1020. Now licenses and taxes go together. So here's her payroll taxes, $84.68. And we would add the business license of $1020. That's $94.88. That's on line 23, taxes and licenses, $94.88. Okay, here's payroll. That's the gross wages, $83,550. That goes under wages, line 26. $83,550. Okay, utilities of $8,000. Okay, there's utilities line 25, $8,000. And we have dues and subscriptions of $3,000. Assuming that those were dues and subscriptions that she's allowed to deduct. There is no dues and subscriptions on here on the front of the Schedule C, so we have to go down here to these other expenses, and we put in dues and subscriptions, and that was $3,000. Okay, so we've done all of these, we've done that part, and sales. And we have a net operating loss, but that is going to be shown, it says here line 21, but on the 2020 return, that's going to be on line 8 of the Schedule 1. Okay, it's not going to go on the Schedule C. So we don't seem to have anything else. We don't seem to have any vehicle type thing. If we had vehicle stuff, that would go here, okay, and we'd have to answer the questions, and then the business mileage times 57.5 cents.